Hi friends. First of all, happy Diwali. I know. I have been absent for a very long time. It took me a very long time to come back to you guys and present my 6th episode of Bhagwad Gita. However, while this time I was away, I was involved in multiple things. I also started a app from my end. I drafted a business plan, I drafted a financial plan. I recruited a company back in India to implement my idea of the app. Unfortunately, there was a hiccup, and my project is off the schedule for a bit, and I'll get back to it. So, in the meanwhile, I got some time to get my recordings done for my next episodes, and here I am in front of you. So, without any further delay, I would like to talk about what exactly is the 6th chapter focused towards. This chapter is talking about Dhyānayoga. That means you have to be involved in what exactly you are doing. Unless you are not focused towards your karma, your motive of doing the karma is not fulfilled. Like for instance, my app, the one I'm designing about, this is to solve the problem for the pet adoption. I really wanted to have a dog. So while I was looking to adopt a dog, I realized that there is a gap. There's a gap in the market in terms of how the pets are being adopted. There are more than 1.5 million pets being euthanized every year, and at the same time, the adoption rate is very low. So I realized that I need to try to solve this problem and put my past few months into resolving this. I'll be making another video to talk about this idea further. However, let's get back to the topic, because that is what I wanted to say is the dhyan about. Unless my dhyana was not towards developing what I want to do on a bigger scale of my life, I would not have been able to do justice to my existence. Rather than talking about a recap of past 5 episodes, I will directly jump to the 6th episode, where Krishna talks about Dhyanayoga. He says, "He who does his duty without expecting the fruits of actions is a sannyasi, a Sankhya yogi, and a Karma yogi, both. You cannot be a renouncer, a sannyasi, by just performing yajna, that is giving up all the activities. Arjuna, you must know that sannyasi is also a yogi. No one can become a yogi without abandoning his thoughts of the worldly pleasures and attachments. That is called sankalpa. If your soul desires to attain a Karmayoga, like for instance complete a particular action, then you should be at least established in the yoga. Therefore, absence of all the sankalpas, that is all the worldly pleasures and the thoughts about the worldly pleasures, will lead you to the establishment in the yoga. Yoga here, mind it, is a combination of your physical as well as your spiritual body. When you stop to have any attachment for the object of senses and renounce all the sankalpas, you can attain the yoga. You should lift yourself by your own effort and should not degrade yourself, because you are your own friend as well as your own enemy. You will become your own friend of your own soul if you are able to conquer your lower self, that will consist of your mind, sense and your body. If it's the other way around, then you are conquered by your lower self and you start behaving agnostically, like an enemy of yourself rather than friend of your own self. The Supreme Spirit, i.e. God, what we call, is rooted in the knowledge of the self-controlled man, whose mind is perfectly serene in the middle of the pair of opposites, like heat and cold, that is absence of heat, joy and sorrow, that is absence of joy. So cold is nothing but the absence of heat. Similarly, the enemy of your soul is nothing but you not conquering your lower self, that is your mind, your senses and your body. If you want to be a yogi, your mind should be established in jnana and vijnana. So what is jnana? Jnana is knowledge of self, and vijnana is knowledge of manifested divinity, the Supreme One, who is unmoved under any circumstances, whose senses are completely under control, to whom earth, stone, gold is considered as one God realized soul. Everything is same. That person can be a true yogi. For this person, everything is same. He will look upon all well-wishers, mediators, friends, foes, relatives, everyone with the same equanimity and stand supreme in front of his senses. Living in seclusion, all by himself, a yogi who has controlled his mind, body, is free from desires and void of possessions and should constantly engage his mind in meditation. In chapter 6, verse 11, here Krishna also talks about how you can set up that place in your house where you live, where you can meditate constantly. So he says, having sat in a seat in a spot which is free from all dirt and impurities, say for instance like a kush grass or deer skin or a cloth which is spread of thorns, so maybe silk or something which is very natural. So you need to sit on something like that when you are about to meditate, which is a place which is not very high, not very low, somewhere in the middle. And occupying that seat, concentrating the mind and controlling the functions of the mind and senses, you should be practicing the yoga of self-purification, holding the trunk, head and neck straight and steady, remaining firm and fixing the gaze on the tip of your nose without looking in any other direction, firm in the vows of complete chastity, fearless, keeping yourself perfectly calm with a mind held right in the restraint, fixing me, that is Krishna, the vigilant yogi. You should sit and absorb in me. This yogi, constantly applying his mind on Krishna, is disciplined and has a mind that attains everlasting peace, consisting of supreme bliss which abides in Krishna. Arjuna, this yoga is for a balanced person, not for someone who overreacts or who observes a complete fast. This yoga is for someone who is accomplished only by him who is regulated in his diet and recreation, regulated in performing actions, regulated in sleep and wakefulness. When the mind, which is thoroughly disciplined, gets reverted on God alone, then the person who is free from yearning all the enjoyments is said to be established in this yoga. As a flame does not flicker in the windless place, such is the state to be in the picture of disciplined mind of a yogi who is practicing meditation on God. In this state that is curbed through the practice of yoga, the mind becomes still and realizes God through a subtle reason that is purified by the meditation on God. And this is what the soul is rejoicing when you attain this level of serenity. Your soul experiences an eternal joy, a supersensual bliss. This type of joy is observed only when a yogi has obtained which he does not reckon any other gain as greater than this one, and he is established in which he is not even shaken by even the heaviest of the sorrows. He has a stable state of mind in which he is not moved at all. That state called yoga should be practiced religiously with an unmoved mind, completely renouncing all the desires arising from the thoughts of the world and fully restraining the whole senses from all the sides by the mind. He should gradually practice to attain the tranquility and fixing the mind on God through the reasons controlled by being steady. He should not think of anything else, drawing back the restlessness and the fragility of mind from all the objects which it runs, should repeatedly fix on the God. You are a yogi whose mind is perfectly serene, whose sinless, whose passion is subdued, and who's identified only with Brahma, the embodiment of truth, knowledge and bliss, a supreme happiness that comes as a matter of time. The sinless yogi thus unite him with self, constantly included with a God, easily enjoys the eternal bliss, oneness with Brahma. The yogi who is united in identity with all the pervasive infinite consciousness, whose vision everywhere is even, and he holds himself as existing in all beings, and all beings are assumed to be in himself. He who sees me, the universal self, present in all beings, and all beings exist within me, he is never lost to me, nor am I lost to him. The yogi who is established in the union with me and worships with me and resides in all the beings as the very self does all his activities with me. Arjuna, he who looks on all as one and the analogy of his own self and looks upon the joy and sorrow of all equally, such a yogi is deemed to be the highest of all. Arjuna said, Krishna, owing to the restlessness of my mind, I do not perceive the stability of this yoga in the form of equanimity which you have just talked about. Krishna, this very mind is very unsteady, turbulent, tenacious, as well as powerful. So I consider it to be very difficult to control like the wind. As the wind is not controlled, so is my mind. Krishna said, the mind is restless, no doubt, and very difficult to curb, Arjuna, but it can be brought under control by repeated practice of meditation and by the exercise of dispassion. Yoga is difficult of achievement for one whose mind is not subdued by himself. However, who has the mind under control and is ceaselessly striving to be the best, it can be easily attained through the practice. Such is my conviction. Arjuna said, Krishna, what becomes of the soul who thinks endowed with the faith and has not been able to subdue his passion and whose mind is therefore diverted from yoga at the time of death and who thus fail to reach the perfection of yoga? Krishna, diverted from the path leading to the God realization and without anything to stand upon, is he not lost like a scattered cloud deprived from both God realization and heavenly enjoyment? Krishna, only you are capable to remove this doubt of my mind completely. Krishna said, O Arjuna, the one who strives for self-redemption, for God realization, will never fall, either here or the life after, even if he meets the evil destiny. Such a person who is completely involved in yoga obtains the highest of the heavens and resides there for innumerable years, takes birth in a prosperous family. But if he is possessed of dispassion, he is born in a family of enlightened yogis. But such a birth in the world is very difficult to obtain. Arjuna, he automatically regains in that birth the spiritual insight of his previous birth, and through that he strives harder than ever for perfection in the form of God realization. The other one who takes birth in a rich family, though under the sway of his senses, feels drawn towards God by forces of habits acquired in the previous birth. Even the seeker of enlightenment on yoga in the form of even-mindedness transcends the fruit of action performed with some interested motive as laid down in the Vedas. The yogi who diligently takes upon the practice attains the perfection in this very life with the help of latencies of many births and being thoroughly purged of sins, forthwith reaches the supreme state. The yogi is superior to the ascetics. He regarded superior even to those versed in sacred laws. The yogi is also superior to those who perform action with some interested motive. Therefore, Arjuna, become a yogi. Of all yogis again, he who devotedly worships me with his mind focused on me is considered by me to be the best of the yogi. Thus, in the Upanishad sung by the Lord, the science of Brahma, the scripture of yoga, the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna ends the 6th chapter entitled as the Yoga of Self-Control, that is Dhyānayoga. Thank you for sticking around, my friends as well as my family. It has been a very difficult year for all of us, and we are trying our level best to be where we are and where we want to be down the road. But at the same time, it's very important to be focused at what we are doing. It's very easy for us to get distracted. It's very easy for us to just say yes to everything around us. However, the best way to stay focused is to say no. How important it is to say no. As soon as you start saying no, you will realize that you have ample amount of time for your own self rather than everything around. Start giving time to your own self and say no to every distraction around you, and that will open your gates towards being the yogi. Say no to all the firecrackers this Diwali. Say no to all the noise pollution this Diwali. Say no to every evil inside you this Diwali. Say no to every distraction around you this Diwali. This Diwali has been completely different since being a pandemic year for every one of us. This whole year has been very different for all of us. So let's get together and celebrate this festival of lights in a very serene way, in a way like a yogi, in a way like it's your own planet. Happy Diwali and save your environment. If you liked my content, please don't forget to share as well as subscribe for my channel. If you are interested to support me for my project, the link is down in the description. Looking forward to connect with you in the next episode. In the meanwhile, Hare Krishna.